Right now, a pleasure to be joined by the outstanding play-by-play voice of the Philadelphia 76ers, who, of course, visit the Warriors tonight. Dibs claims that he got her start.
Well,
Let's see what her view of that is. The great Kate Scott. How are you, Kate?
Oh, it's great to be on with you guys, Whitey, Dibs, and yes, I am not here without Dan Dibley, continually giving up opportunities that I just then slid my way into and tried to make the most of. So
Kate,
thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you for that, Kate. If I could get you to say it again without Whitey laughing this time, it actually might work for my real 3, 2, and seriously though, Kate, you know I'm so proud of you, and I only take credit for you, quote unquote, because you've done so much. If you were a washout who had gone nowhere, believe me, I wouldn't take your calls, Kate. But I'm very proud.
That's very sweet.
She knows me. She knows better.
I take pride in that. And jokes aside, Dib was a huge help to me at the start of my career. Helped me get my foot in the door in radio. When we worked together for the San Jose Earthquakes, he was always helping me, trying to figure out ways to get better and get more involved. So truly, I like to give him a hard time because that makes for better sports radio, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. He never helped me.
Easily claim.
You're so sweet, Kate. I've been trying to stab this guy in the back for the better part of 12 years. But if you could just jump in on the discussion. It wasn't even a debate because we're talking about the MVP, Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, and you get to see Embiid each and every night. We don't get to see either one as up close and personal, but what are your thoughts and the thoughts of Sixers fans in terms of who deserves to be the MVP?
Well, I think you guys probably have just a small idea of what you think Philly thinks of the MVP race last year and the year before and again this year. But I know it's gotten really it's gotten dark, as a lot of people have said over the last few weeks, with people just throwing shade left and right. I'm of the mind that I think it's incredible that we have a couple of dudes from the other side of the world who are big fellas in a game that Steph and the Warriors changed the last decade into a guard game. And now we've got two big dudes going toe-to-toe and blow for blow, trying to win an MVP award for now a third consecutive season. Obviously, I'm biased. I think our guy deserves it. And I think actually, I know you were talking about the voter fatigue because it's so rare that guys have won 3 in a row, right? It's like Bill Russell, Larry Bird territory, and those guys were getting to NBA Finals and winning NBA Finals when they were winning 3 in a row. And I think the worst thing that happened was that Jokic got it last year when the Nuggets were a 6th seed, because I think that was actually the year that Joel should have won, when he won the scoring title as a center for the first time since Shaq back in 2000. But both guys have somehow stepped up their game this season, and here's what puts Joel over the top for me. I think Jokic is incredible. You guys see him way more than I do, but I love the way he plays. I mean, I know Kyle Anderson's nickname is Slow-Mo in the association, but he plays at his own pace, and you're either going to try to slow him down even more than he's already slow, or you're going to lose the game. And the way that he's efficient across the board, but Joel puts up more points per game. I mean, he just came off a streak of 10 consecutive 30-point performances. But in addition to that, it's what he does on the defensive end that I think Jokic trails behind considerably. In that stretch of 10 straight 30-plus, 6 of those games he had 3+ blocks. So he's not just letting guys go by and taking a possession off because he wants to score more buckets on the other end. Like, this dude anchors the defense for the Sixers, and he is their number one on the offensive end. And I think the East is the better conference this season, if, we're just breaking that down. And I think the Sixers are one of the top 3 teams. And when it comes to, if we want to go college football head-to-head, like, he blew Jokic out of the water in Philly back in January. We're going to see them again on Monday, so I'm really looking forward to that, because head-to-head matters to me. Like, if you completely outplay a guy, if you beat a team and then the rankings come out on Tuesday and that team is still 6 spots ahead of you, it's like, what? Come on! We just beat the crap out of you. How are you still ranked ahead of us? So, So I rest my case for now, but feel free to ask follow-ups if you would like.
Kate Scott with us here on 95.7 The Game. This may not be fair because I know you're not on the medical staff, but do you have any information on the likelihood of Embiid, Harden playing tonight? Embiid with
I know they're both listed as questionable. Yeah. I sure hope, just as a fan, that you all get to see these guys, because I flash back to when I was lucky enough to be here covering Steph a number of years ago, and we always used to say, how lucky are we that we get to see these dudes at the peak of their power, Steph and Clay and Dre. And I know they're still going strong. I know they've won 2 in a row, coming off the Road Warriors now after picking up a couple of road wins. But you just felt lucky as a sports fan, right? And after I got over my hatred of James, once he came to the team last year, gave him a hard time about that. It's poetry in motion, their pick and roll. And Joel, because you don't get to see him that often. This dude is 7'2" and 280 pounds, and he has spinning fadeaways on the baseline like Kobe. I mean, he didn't play basketball until he was 15. He was a volleyball and soccer player in Cameroon. So his footwork down low, it's like Hakeem. I mean, he's got the brute force of a Patrick Ewing. If you want to go back to the 90s Knicks, like, he is just a crazy combination of some of our favorite guys to ever play the game. So it's a joy. And now that he's got the best point guard he's ever played with, who just finds him all over the court, it really is. Every night that I get to call a Sixers game, I think, how lucky am I, and how lucky are all of us that we get to watch basketball at this level. So that was a long way of saying I have no idea if those guys are playing tonight. Because, we've only got 10 games left in the season, and the number one thing, because you guys know Sixers haven't won a title in 40 years, and they feel like this is their best chance in a good long while. And the number one thing going into the postseason is health. I think they make at least the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I think they get past Miami if Joel isn't completely broken in the first round series up in Toronto. So I know they want to play. Like, these guys hate taking days off. I can tell you that, because I'm usually sitting right behind them on the bus, and they get pissed when they don't get to play, which I love, because I'm an old school sports fan, as you guys know. So I'm hoping they get to play. But again, first half of the back-to-back, we're headed to Phoenix right after the game tonight. Play the Suns tomorrow, and then again play Denver and Jokic Monday. So I don't know, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed, because I would love for you all to get to see what I see every night.
Yeah, agreed, Kate, because they're so fun to watch. And let's go back to that point guard, James Harden, who has completely changed his game. Yeah. Did Doc Rivers get to him and tell him how he needs to play, or has he just evolved into being a real true point guard?
Yeah, I think he is 33 years old, and he went up against the ceiling that was Steph Curry and these Warriors in OKC and in Houston. He won all the individual awards. He's won the MVPs and the scoring titles, and I think he realizes, like, this could be his best last shot. And he's never played with a big dude before, like Joel, right? He played with KD and Russ in OKC, and he played with Chris Paul and a variety of guys in Houston, but he never had a true center. And I think it took a while for them to figure out the chemistry last year, and everybody in Philly was saying, this is awful, gosh, what a awful trade. But James wasn't healthy last year, fully healthy at least, and they just didn't have enough time. It takes time to develop pick-and-roll chemistry, especially with guys who have never played with another guy like that. Like, Ben Simmons wasn't that kind of point guard. He was a huge defender who would find guys, but not with just the way that James is able to find you, even if he's not looking at you, skip past across the floor. Like, it blows my mind, his IQ, when it comes to the game of basketball. So I think it's taken a while for that to develop. I think that he realizes what an amazing chance he has to maybe finally get that ring this year. And I think he's actually always been this guy. We forget because of who he had to be in Houston. He had to be the dude in Houston. But in OKC, way back at the beginning of the last decade, he was a sixth man. He was come off the bench, find your teammates, get Russ the ball, get KD the ball. If you can hit a three every once in a while, great. But he was actually, back in the day, a point guard. So that's something I say to him all the time. Like, the fact that you have kind of ceded the scoring, unless the team needs you, to Joel and Tyrese Maxey, our third-year star, who you guys are going to love when you see him tonight.
I love him, yes.
He's so quick.
Yeah.
And such a good dude as well. But that takes a lot, right? You guys know, in any sport, to take a little bit of a step back when it comes to the stats for the success of your team. That is not an easy thing to do, especially after you've won as many individual accolades as James. So I think it's a combination of all those things. And I'm just, again, I'm grateful and happy that I get to be a small part of it.
How about this, Kate Scott? Obviously, the Sixers, you played the Warriors once, and they were shorthanded.
Yeah.
But as you prepare for this game, and I know you follow the NBA obviously very closely, what stands out to you about where the Warriors are right now? What surprises you about where they are right now?
Well, I mean, like everybody, all of us are shocked that they've yet to win 10 games on the road this season, and that the last couple of wins down in Texas were their first back-to-back road wins since the NBA Finals last year. But I will tell you this much. Out in the East, nobody cares about the Warriors' record. Nobody wants to face the Warriors in the postseason. Everybody, Sixers fans and team included, hope that nobody in the West sleeps on the Warriors, because if they do, you guys know that everybody's in trouble. They've won so many championships. They didn't have the same motivation this year, because I think last year was we're proving it. We're proving how incredible of a team and franchise and core group we are with this championship. And how do you then refine that motivation? I don't think you can find it again until you have your back up against the wall in the postseason. So I know the Kings are having a phenomenal year. That's been super fun to watch. But if I'm the Kings, I'm really hoping the Warriors aren't in the 6th seed, and then maybe we get Memphis Golden State in the second round. I think that would be incredible. So just from all of us in the Eastern Conference, a little surprised that they haven't found it sooner, but still completely expect them to find it in the next week or two, and then come the postseason, unless they somehow fall into the play-in and do that one thing that you all know that they've been doing all season, turn it over too much and send the other team to the free throw line, and it's one and done. That's the only way I could see this not working out into another long run for the Warriors. Kate, on behalf of all of us, to all of you, welcome home. Enjoy the stay. I know it's going to be brief, and just know that you always have a home here at 95.7 The Game. Oh, man. Well, it's great being on with you guys this afternoon. Shout out to everybody at the game. My last stop before I headed out to Philly. I truly wouldn't be here without you, Dibs, but everybody in the radio community in the Bay. And I worked for every single team also before I left. So shout out to Higgins, shout out to Stacy, shout out to everybody who gave me one last shot before I headed out east. I love you all, and hope we have a great game tonight. It's like an Oscar speech. Thanks, right Kate. There. We're about to play you off. Woo! Take care, Kate. Thanks, Kate. Bye, guys. Voice of the Philadelphia 76ers.